They only are concerned with their bottom line. That is it. There is no other thing. So the ones who are profitable stay, the ones who are not leave. It's trimming the fat.
So I always felt that this should have been the end of the road for Joy-Ann Reid. It wasn't, but let's just remind everybody of what she was actually able to get away with and how badly somebody could actually lie to the camera.
Four-star general with all of the gravitas that you described that Lloyd Austin has. He walks onto the TV and I sit up a little straighter because he has such great gravitas. Replacing him with a dude from Weekend Fox who with this history, it embarrasses me as an American. And we shall see, because I don't trust our United States Senate, our Republican-controlled Senate, to say no. We begin our final sprint, having arrived at that point in the election season where basically we on this side of the TV screen have said all we can. We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism.
So what would you call Biden and Harris facilitating a genocide? What do you call that?
It's pretty fascist to me. It's you know, I mean, it's up there. I mean, genocide is definitely in the characteristics. I believe there's like 12 or 14 characteristics of fascism. I'm pretty sure that ethnic cleansing is one of those.
Also,
ethnic cleansing.
Also, the fact that she wanted to play the race card on behalf of Lloyd Austin. I mean, the level of depravity.
Can you change this shot? This is absolutely her worst look ever.
Namely,
let's go to the better hair.
Far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy, but also white-ruled South Africa before Mandela and the black majority took control, or Vladimir Putin's Russia, Viktor Orban's Hungary, or Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela today, that suppresses the rights of women and minorities, uses the military to execute the whims of a strongman dictator, and controls and suppresses the press, education, the arts, rewrites history to suit a favored and dominant racial class. Are you highlighting her propaganda
mouthpiece-ness?
And foments.
I mean, do a lot of public speaking.
Okay, at least that's better.
That has to do with kind of women operating in the workplace.
Yes.
And when I saw during the debate, Warren was quite cool about it. She was like, Bernie's my friend. I'm not going to get into that here. But then afterward, she rolled up on him, was like, no, we're not going to handshake now. You called me a liar.
Yes.
That felt to me like a lot of the ways that women have to operate and work in the professional environment where you can't be angry.
That is infuriating. Please make it stop. That was so infuriating. So now she's playing the woman card. Because here's the thing. That is a legitimate thing that she's saying. But to in any way equate what she's saying to that snake and what she did to Bernie is so off the wall to me.
Just make the sound.
Like, because what she's doing is it reduces the credibility of legitimate issues that women in the workplace have. And there are many. I've had that. I know other peers of mine have had that. Like, that's a real thing. And the fact that she would throw this, like this Liz Warren had to deal with that in the workplace. Get the fuck out of here with that. Like, are you kidding me?
And where do you think it started from? It all started from Hillary Clinton calling Bernie a sexist and everybody running with it because she didn't have anything.
It completely belies all facts to the contrary. Okay, this is the snake that he actually suggested that she should run. And she was too chicken shit to run against Hillary. And so instead of doing so, and so he did. So then for her to turn around and say that he somehow suggested that a woman couldn't be president is absurd. That's what I think. And so this is annoying right now to me.
Or you're the bad.
Most of us want to deal with it afterwards instead of just going right for it. The fact that Elizabeth Warren not only came over, she squared her body. He's giving her the cold shoulder. He doesn't turn to her. She says, I think you just called me a liar on national TV. If you go back to Wienergate, you go back to all of these political.
So how much you want to bet this woman sits on the board of Moms Demand Action or some shit like that?
Yeah, she looks like that. Or she sells Mary Kay.
But whatever it is, for anybody out there who thinks they're a body language expert, I wouldn't be taking advice from this person. But again, this is propaganda. It's all
completely. This is crazy.
Let's see if there's any.
All right, but this is old.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's okay here.
I've spent a lot of time trying to make sense of these posts.
I hired cybersecurity experts to see if somebody had manipulated my words or my former blog.
This is that.
And the reality is they have not been able to prove it. But here's what I know. I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things.
Okay, see, now she's a liar. That's it, right? Right. I mean, she's just a flat out liar. But I guess unless there's a way to prove that, and again, at the time, they were still acting in their best interest because at the time they were making the decision still, again, based on profits. So at that time, she was still worth keeping.
Correct. I think you can't make a statement like this on national television and get away with it unless there's something that you are bringing to the table that is of considerable more value than dealing with the heat that came with her being able to get away with the statements she made on top of everything else. So when people are like, but Joy says this, Joy says that, she says it because she facilitates the corporate oligarchic message that MSDNC wants out there. And if you want to throw in some race hustling to go with it, then she'll do that too. It doesn't matter. And believe me, guys, for $3 million a year, plus the prestige that comes with it, being invited to all the right parties, making all the right connections, there's very little that too many people are going to not be willing to do in order to get that.
But see, to me, it's the fact that she's a shill for capital, and it really doesn't matter to me whether or not she played, like the woman card, the race card, those are all just the tools in the toolbox. At the end of the day, she's just an operative for them, right? Like that's just the things that are available at her disposal. Different operatives use different tools depending on what they have at their disposal. And at the end of the day, all they are is shills for capital.
Now, maybe, just maybe, the reason why Joy decided that she was going to make a statement pertaining to what was going on in Gaza is because maybe she knew that her time was limited, that she was going to get the axe, and that she simply decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and say what needs to be said. Maybe too little, too late, as you would allude to.
Oh, I've alluded.
But at least she did say it. So here's what she said.
These bombings are being done using our tax dollars. Perhaps we should ask some questions.
Well, she already threw that one out there, which was not smart.
For example,
tax dollars.
How does bombing a densely populated land strip filled 50% with children constitute self-defense? How does bombing hospitals, churches, mosques, and UN schools constitute self-defense? Well, you say if Hamas fighters are hiding in the hospital using the civilians as human shields, okay, let's say they are. Are you arguing that flattening the hospital and killing newborns in their incubators and their moms in the NICU, cancer patients, someone with a broken leg, the doctors, nurses, and just the women and kids hiding in the hospital, that's not a war crime? Because you would be wrong.
Where was she on October 8th and 9th and 10th? Where was she talking? I'm just curious. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. No. But was she propagating the babies in ovens and rapes? Was she one of the people that propagated and then kept propagating the rape story?
I can't speak to that. I never watched this stuff.
If anybody out there knows if she's one of the people that was propagating the rape story about from October 7th and that whole nonsense, put it in the chat. Because that will affect my opinion on this issue.
The amazing thing about Gaza is that I really haven't seen a situation where you had a prominent figure who was all in on Israel and then all of a sudden just completely turned it around and was supporting Palestine. Pretty much the lines were drawn almost immediately. You knew exactly where everyone stood.
Well, that's why I'm curious if she was just kind of quiet on that, or if she was one of the people that was proactively sitting there propelling propaganda about what happened. That's what I'm curious about. Like, how active was she in the weeks after October 7th? And then what's the timeline on her sort of like, come to Jesus moment on this?
Good point.
That's what I'd be curious about.
According to international law. Well, why don't the people in Gaza just turn over Hamas militants to the Israelis? Okay, how do you propose they do that? Hamas is the de facto government in Gaza, and they're the ones with the guns. The leaders of Hamas aren't even in Gaza. And if they were, if you were a teenager living in an open-air prison, getting bombed day and night by, let's say, Mexico, and Mexican police kicked in the door and raided your house anytime they wanted and turned off the water and cut off your food, what are you going to do? Side with them? Help them while you're dying? That's like asking why black folks don't help or trust the police. Okay, but after 9/11, we bombed Afghanistan in self-defense. Yeah, we did. And did that put an end to al-Qaeda or get bin Laden? No, it did not. Because like Hamas, bin Laden wasn't in the country we were bombing. President Obama got him 10 years later in Pakistan using special forces and without bombing scores of kids to death. Bombing Afghanistan did buy us a 20-year occupation that got us more enemies in the Muslim world when we scooped people up on the battlefield and dragged them off to Gitmo. And when we threw in a gratuitous war against Iraq based on lies by a Bush administration that traded on our anger and our fear, the world rose up against us as we committed torture and tossed former Iraqi police and soldiers into makeshift gulags, and those prisoners later turned into ISIS. Oh, and the Taliban are back in control of Afghanistan. So again, what is the goal of mass bombing Gaza? Is it to find the people Hamas militants abducted on October 7? Okay, how? By flattening whatever shelter they're taking from the bombs? Don't you?
Early Saturday, an Israeli airstrike hit a school serving as a shelter in Gaza, killing at least 100 people and wounding nearly 50 others, according to Palestinian health authorities. On the same day as the strike, Vice President Kamala Harris condemned the loss of civilian life.
Wait, can we have a shout out to Metal? We haven't seen him in a while. Metal, somebody asked me about you
One
recently.
of our favorite conservatives decides to make.
Where have you been, Metal?
But
All
but at the same time, it's like Kamala makes a statement, but then immediately is like, we're going to give Israel everything it wants. So what's the point?
She doesn't know what she's saying. She's a friggin' just word salad generator.
The point is, we have watched too little too late from too many people in too many places that should be speaking up on these issues. And Joy made a conscious decision career-wise that it was more important to make money than to be transparent. Joy is not stupid. She knows that Bernie Sanders was the best option, was going to make a real change that we desperately needed, and now we're stuck where we are. And trying to shame people is never going to work again. That's the great thing. I mean, as much as we had to listen to it from so many people for so long in 2017, 2018, et cetera, to even try it now, it just rings hollow. People don't care anymore. They're like, no, we know what the problem is, and you're not going to sell us empire, which is why, as you said, you think the Democratic Party is as dead as a doornail at this point.
think nationally that I do not think we're going to see another Democratic president. And and let me put like an asterisk, with this incarnation of the Democratic Party, this Hillary Clinton corporate part, this Democratic Party that we have right now, I do not think we will see another president out of them. That's just my opinion. I don't see it happening. I also don't think Pete Buttigieg is going to win in Michigan. And I don't think Kamala is going to win in California. And I do think there's still going to be bastion states and smaller areas that are going to have Democratic, people, but it's dying off.